And, well, having some food, not only for thought, but in our stomachs now, I think we are well prepared to tackle the second part of our conference, and that is now, first of all, related to lifting our ambitions somewhat higher in terms of, well, lifting the expert level maybe on one hand. The second component, or the second keyword, is after the what are we doing, what are we requested to do, the who is going to do what, or who should do what. I'm very happy to announce once more and to introduce to you all in all 5 new experts this time who are willing and prepared to contribute here by giving proactive contributions from their side. And the participants representing different sectors in this part of the conference now will elaborate on how to raise the marine issue litter higher in different agendas, be it on the national, regional, or on the European agenda even. The speakers have been invited to announce how individual organizations, that is first of all, of course, their own organization, but maybe even others, and also initiatives could better join the combat against marine litter. I'd like to introduce the 5, as I said, and I would like to start with Ms. Erja Tikka. She is the Ambassador for Baltic Sea Affairs at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, and she is National Coordinator for the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region here in Finland. Erja, welcome, and please take a seat. The second one, our colleagues from the European Commission, Matjaz Malgaj. He is Head of Unit for Marine Environment and Water Industry at the European Commission, and also Head of Delegation to HELCOM, so that he will stay even longer, tomorrow, the day after, how long soever, until all problems have been solved. Thirdly, we've got Ms. Sally Clink on our list, and she is, since 2018, the Executive Secretary of the Baltic Sea Advisory Council, BSAC, whose main aim is to advise the European Commission and Member States on matters relating to management of the fisheries in the Baltic Sea. Also a more than interesting issue in any context, in particular also with regard to marine litter, no doubt. Next on my list is Ms. Kaisa Kononen. We know her all, also for a lot of years already been involved in the joint Baltic Sea Research and Development Program BONUS, which is always something positive, and she is involved in that since 2007, and she worked around about 20 years as a research scientist. So best, of course, recommended, so to say, for the science approach. Last but not least, we've with us Ms. Anja Nysten. She is Senior Advisor on Environment, Energy and Climate at the Nordic Environment Finance Corporation, NEFCO, which is definitely also one of the big players in the Baltic Sea region and one of the good old partners of Helsinki Commission. So a warm welcome to you as well. Well, colleagues, I don't tell you a secret, because you have been briefed already by organizers, by the Secretariat, that we are now all keen on receiving some more input from you. I mean, more input now from your side, around about 7 minutes statements or presentation, whatever, summarized views about actions against marine litter in the Baltic Sea. And it is my proposal that we just start with you, Erja, and then go one by one, so that we get as I feel, having a look at the background of the institutions of the presenters, a more than colorful picture probably of what is already going on, and probably also what should and could be going on in the future. You have the floor, please.
Okay, thank you, Heike. First of all, I apologize for my voice. I hope it will last. I have a little flu. And secondly, I must confess that I'm not an expert. I'm a generalist, because I'm a diplomat. There are many much better experts here, but I'll try to explain to you what we are doing within the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region in this field of marine litter. As you may know, one of the 3 main objectives of the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region is Save the Sea, with sub-objectives clean water, rich and healthy wildlife, clean and safe shipping, and better cooperation. All the policy areas implementing these objectives follow the Baltic Sea Action Plan of HELCOM and other HELCOM plans and recommendations. The EU's BSR policy areas act, in fact, as an implementation tool for these HELCOM plans and recommendations through concrete actions and projects. And these policy areas work very closely together with the relevant HELCOM expert groups. In the field of mitigating marine litter, the policy area hazards plays the most important role. In the EU's BSR action plan from last year, it was updated last year, one of PA hazards actions is to promote research and innovative management in this field, because there is still lack of comprehensive knowledge about the environmental impact of most chemicals and hazardous substances, their sources and management options, including marine litter. Policymakers need more information on these issues to make informed decisions. There is also a need for new and more innovative management options to reduce the use, release and effects of hazardous substances in an efficient and cost-effective way on macro-regional level. Of course, much can and has to be done on national level. In Finland, the waste legislation and waste management, including a well-working recycling system of plastic bottles, is effective. But also, here in Finland, much more certainly needs to be done. In a survey by the organization Keep Archipelago Tidy a few years ago, Finland's shores were recognized to be the most littered around the Gulf of Finland. The newly adopted program of measures of the Finnish Marine Strategy 2016-2021 of the Finnish government includes in this field as the first measure a broad-scoped general survey on sources of littering, its amounts in different regions, and an evaluation of the potential to reduce it. According to the results, a national target on the reduction of marine litter will be proposed and implementation measures adopted, especially regarding plastic litter. Special attention will be paid to wastewaters, stormwaters, microplastics in hygiene products, plastic packages and other use of plastics, derelict fishing gear, and the waste management in ports. The plan also includes education and communication measures for citizens. And similar national plans and programs have been or are being made in other Baltic Sea countries as well. And there is certainly plenty of room for cooperation and mutual learning in this field. Within the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region, the policy area hazards action, there is a promising new concrete project which is called Baltic. It is being introduced, presented also here in the exhibition. It has recently got financing by the Interreg Central Baltic program. Its aim is to map the sources of marine litter and follow its routes to the sea, especially in urban surroundings and along rivers. Recommendations concerning the resource efficiency of wastewater sector will be prepared, and a data bank and general instructions will be produced. There are partners from Sweden, Finland, Estonia and Latvia, and the pilot cities are Turku, Tallinn, Södertälje and Ventspils. Another project within the EU BSR that has newly been accepted for financing by the Interreg Baltic Sea Region program is Marelit Baltic. Its aim is to develop cost-efficient, safe and environmentally sound cleaning methods for derelict fishing gear through demonstration actions, to produce a handbook, to increase responsible fisheries, and to develop a code of conduct, as well as to improve fishing gears for minimizing this DFG problem. The project partners are from Sweden, Poland, Estonia, and Germany. These two examples of ongoing projects are good examples of what we can do together. I'm just finishing. Joining our forces, I mean the expertise of HELCOM and the stakeholders and the project tools of the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region. The HELCOM Regional Action Plan on Marine Litter, with its 30 actions, offers a good basis for the work, not only within policy area hazards, but also within other policy areas of the strategy, such as ship, bioeconomy, spatial, climate, and neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Erja, for this inside view from the European Baltic Sea strategy, and no problem with your voice. I think it was excellent, actually, and we are very grateful that you, despite your flu or whatever it is, hopefully only a cold, have found the time and the energy to participate here. I think that's actually what should be mentioned in that context. Matjaz, may I ask you to give the next presentation or the next or whatever, giving us, let's say, Brussels/Commission/European view to the background of an existing strategy directive, of course also including the regionals, whatever and however you link things together, but probably also an interesting view for all those here being member states of the European Union as well. So please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Inke. I don't know how my voice will go, but I'll try to, I hope it's a cold, and I'll try to finish before the bell rings. Thanks for having me, and also thanks very much to the Secretariat and everybody involved in the organization. As Inke said, I work in the European Commission, but I'm not going to be presenting the Brussels point of view. It's really, I think we're well placed because we work with all our member states, but we also work when member states work together regionally with other countries, and we are an interlocutor for global processes. So I'd like to do two things, explain a little bit where we are in terms of how policies are, what kind of measures are there, and then if I have time in this intervention or later in discussion to address the question you put, which is how do we mobilize what needs to be done, which is really a daunting one. But let me just start first by giving a very short overview of how we see things are going on globally. We actually have processes that's been going on within the auspices of the UN since quite some time ago. There is a Honolulu Declaration, for those of you who might want to Google it, and you will see that it's like global awareness of the issue has been with us for at least, I think, 15 years. And I think science is increasingly telling us that this is a problem, but not just science. Public awareness has really been, we've seen in the past 5-10 years, people have really noticed things have been going worse. So there is a UN process which is culminating, and I think Professor Kershaw was talking to us before, which is culminating in a expert-supported work, which I think is due to be discussed in a couple of weeks, and then we hope that the global community will, in the next United Nations Environmental Assembly, adopt a declaration which would give some direction for global action. Because it is a global problem, it's also a regional problem, as you know, in Baltic Sea, but it really is a global problem of contamination of our oceans. Maybe just a few words that it's not just globally addressed, the most powerful, if I may say so, countries, or at least the most economically big countries working in G7 have recognized this is an issue. And under the German presidency, they adopted an action plan to work on marine litter, which is an important thing for our discussion later on, how politics and public awareness interact. Because once you have very important economic players acting on something, my experience is you get results done a bit faster than if they're resisting the change. At European level, we have for some time recognized marine litter is quite an issue. And for those of you who are less familiar with our processes, there is something that's called the 7th Environmental Action Program, which is a strategic legal document adopted together between our member states, governments, and European Parliament. And that one charts the challenges and actions in the area of environmental policy up until 2020. That document clearly recognizes marine litter is a problem we need to act on. It provides some guidance on actions, and it also imposes an obligation on us collectively to establish quantitative reduction targets, which would help guide our action. Then we have a number of other instruments. Some mentioned circular economy before, some mentioned it's not going far enough. I would probably agree. I would also add it's going much further than what we had before. So once it's fully implemented, we think that economic transition towards a model that really moves away from discarding, throwing things away, should deal with part of the problem. But it's not going to deal with all of it, but I would say my first point is full implementation of European waste legislation and circular economy package would already cover quite some ground. Just to give you one example that I want to bring in later, we act also when there is opportunity to address acute problems. You will have recalled that we have adopted a legislative proposal to reduce plastic bag use in the European Union, and that was really A, addressing an issue, and B, it was evidence-based proposal which recognized that with economic measures or targets, but we have evidence on economic measures, you can substantially reduce the use of plastic bags, which are one of the more really most unnecessary pollutants that are relatively easy to deal with if you've got political will. And there are examples, I think in Ireland, 2 years after introducing a plastic bag charge, they had reduction of 90%. So there are really good examples there. To quickly roll through, the Marine Strategy Framework Directive is a legal instrument that basically aims at achieving good environmental status across a number of criteria in the whole of European Union, and also in cooperation with our regional partners in the Mediterranean, in the Baltic Sea, in Atlantic. We are largely sharing this goal also with other countries who are not members and are not bound by it. And one of the descriptors, as we call them, but one of the areas of action where we need to see results is also marine litter. So we have legal framework, we have awareness that led to adoption of this legal framework, so I'd say it's pretty high up there. What I'd also like to mention is that the European Commission, which will have the privilege of chairing HELCOM Commission from 1st of July, has proposed, it's still under discussion with the parties, but has proposed that implementation of the Marine Litter Action Plan would be one of the priorities for our presidency, which will go on for 2 years. So that's just describing instruments. I know some of you may come back to us, but I think this just probably gives you a picture of how things are fitting together. Now, if I spend my last 34 seconds before the bell rings on just saying something that maybe provokes your questions later on, I think, of course, it's not just the instruments. I was just listing instruments which help us work. It's the engagement of civil society. It's providing the legal framework that provides positive and negative incentives. I think carrot and stick was mentioned before, to economic operators to respond to the problem. It's not just people who produce packaging. It's not that just a piece of legislation is preventing action. We need really deep innovation also on the side of plastic industry to get to a stage where it becomes really stupid to throw things away. I think that's one issue. And we need, on the other hand, systemic solutions. Many of you mentioned stormwater overflows. There are simply things that cannot be just done by goodwill. There are things that have to be done by putting together systems, very complex systems, to be honest, that deal with this issue that is a big issue. And this runs out my time. Thank you very much.
We thank you, Matjaz. And, well, I needn't say anything. The next candidate already prepared immediately to start, and that is Ms. Sally Clink again from the BSAC. And I'm absolutely sure you will give a particular add-on from this particular side. So please.
I hope so. Thank you very much. And thank you so much to HELCOM for inviting us. I'm sorry I'm not sending our chairman, but he's at another meeting. And of course, I was already very happy when I came in to see the KIFO stand outside. I think that's a wonderful example and relevant to us for fisheries. And to hear about the involvement of the fishing sector in collecting waste by Bernhard this morning. That was a wonderful presentation. And of course, WWF is here and is one of our members. We're glad to be here. We know about the major statement that I could quote from the United Nations Environment Programme from 2005. I won't repeat it. You probably know it all by heart anyway. In preparing for this, we were actually asked to provide answers to 3 questions. And the first one really was, what are the main and more specific interests of the Baltic Sea Advisory Council, the BSAC? And our main role is actually to deal with fisheries management and to give advice and recommendations on fisheries management. So, I mean, fishing gear, removing fishing gear, where does that fit in? Well, I think brilliantly, because we're a very broad body of stakeholders. I'm from the Secretariat. I don't have any particular agenda. And note, broad body of stakeholders. That's fishermen, and you know why fishermen go out to fish, because they have to earn some money, but also because there are other interest groups in there. There are some very committed and dedicated NGO members and recreational and sports fishermen. So you could see marine litter as a very, very good issue for us to deal with, because it's a horizontal issue like fisheries safety that there is broad agreement on. So I think we could certainly support initiatives that reduce the negative impact of derelict fishing gears, and that's what I think I spend most of my words on. And that's not only from commercial fishing, but also from sports and recreational fishery in the Baltic ecosystem. Bottom-up approach, many people have said this involvement of stakeholders is very, very important. It is, because that's where the energy can really usefully be put to work. And the BSAC, because we cover all Baltic Sea states, apart from Russia, which is an observer to us, that means we can promote large-scale actions at regional level. And the Marelit project, which you're going to hear about later, is an extremely good example of that, and which we give our warm support to. So I think that's very important, raising awareness. And this, of course, we are under common fisheries legislation, and that means following the obligation in the control regulation underneath that policy to report, mark, and retrieve lost gears. So fishermen have that obligation. Increasing the understanding of the ghost net problem and the preventative, mitigating, and remedial measures and actions that should be taken to solve the problem in the Baltic. What kind of derelict fishing gears are we talking about? Where are the hotspots? What are the impacts? And so on. And it's a regional problem. Nets drift, so we could work on that regionally together across the borders. That's very important. And the problem really is to a large extent similar across the whole Baltic Sea region. So again, regional approach. And we as a platform can work on this very well, I think, together. We need to look at economies of scale. That would mean reduced costs and increased efficiency of actions for getting hold of the equipment, good quality equipment that lasts longer than the cheap variety. Greater opportunities for effective recycling, that's obvious. People have talked a lot about that. Good facilities for taking in the materials so that they can be recycled. And of course, good cooperation with HELCOM, that goes without saying. Question 2, how can we build ownership so agreed actions against litter are implemented? Direct investments, we think, in waste management infrastructure, that's been talked about already, that's most important. Involvement of a wide national and international target group is important. Again, we're a good platform for that. Many Baltic Sea states actually lack a national ghost net policy, so we could look more into that. Dialogue on ghost nets between the fishing sector and authorities is difficult. It's a diffuse topic. We can help to work further on that within our organisation. We can hold some information meetings and help towards that. And we need some methodologies. Detect and prioritise host areas for ghost nets in national and international waters so they can be identified, they can be retrieved. Where are they? Flat, rocky seabeds, shipwrecks. Unused gears from warehouses. Let's find them, let's get rid of them, and let's make use of the materials. And then I think it's important to highlight that preferably international actions and collaboration involving all key stakeholders is very important. Prevention measures need to be developed and prepared for national and international implementation. And dare I say it, fishermen should not be punished for losing their nets. They know the rules under the Common Fisheries Policy. So let's make port reception facilities there available to take the nets free of charge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sally, for presenting the BSAC view, so to say, and in particular for giving some, at least a handful, I counted, very concrete proposals for next steps, for actions to take. The next one is Kaisa Kononen from the science/research community, and I'm absolutely sure that we will get a new angle of view. So please, Kaisa, the floor is yours.
Thank you and good afternoon. When we look backwards how these environmental monitoring and mitigation programs such as HELCOM have been developed, so it's very easy to see that science has really been the driving force for regulatory actions, and the accumulation of science has been the reason to revise and improve those regulations. But if we look at the topic of today, marine litter, it's actually the situation is quite the opposite. Science has not been the driving force. And this problem is really, it has a growing public awareness, it's very annoying, and it's affecting citizens just who simply want to enjoy the beauty of the marine nature. It may also have an effect on human health through consumption of contaminated seafood. And it has caught attention in many levels of international, European, regional and local environmental policy institutions, UN, EU, G7 leaders, HELCOM. But the scientific knowledge, however, is almost completely missing. And this is a case in particular with the multitude and severity of the impacts, as well as innovations for effective mitigations. Even the standardized methodology doesn't exist. The first 4 lines of HELCOM's Baltic Sea Action Plan, they say that marine litter may seriously damage the environment as well as human health. Microplastic pieces may transfer along the food chain to other marine animals. So the word is may, because we don't know. So we don't know about sources and pathways of different types of marine litter. For example, what are the input pathways? What is the role of cosmetics, textile fibers, straw traffic? We don't know about the amounts and distribution in different parts of the Baltic Sea, in particular in the sea surface, water column, and seabed. And this issue also involves a methodological aspect, as the systematic marine litter monitoring must be established. So we have no clue what kind of transformations marine litter goes through the sea. What is the fate of marine litter, plastics in particular, in terms of fragmentation and decomposition? Nor do we know about the effects of different types of marine litter in different ecosystem components and services. For example, what is the toxicity of marine litter in different stages of degradation? Those toxic substances accumulate on the surfaces of the microplastics. Also, there's a crying need to establish mitigation actions, cost-benefit analysis of various marine litter reduction and cleanup approaches. For example, what is the socio-economical impact, including cost of marine litter, and what juridical, institutional, behavioral changes are needed? Monitoring and assessment methodologies are also yet to be developed. For example, even indicators are to be developed and standardized. So all in all, there's a huge demand for new innovations and technological solutions, for example, for reducing fibers in the wastewater treatment plants. And these were just a few examples, and this list of unknown questions could go on and on. So the HELCOM's Marine Litter Action Plan is an important step towards managing the problem. And many of the recommended actions, they are self-evident and highly needed, despite of the lack of knowledge. So the needed research and innovation is multidisciplinary, and the solutions are cross-sectoral. So we need research within the traditional marine sciences, but also research on social sciences and economies, as well as technological development. Based on a bibliometric study on microplastics a couple of years ago, showed first of all that this field of studies is really intensifying worldwide. Within the 23 listed leading countries, however, by the year 2012, only 2 Baltic countries, Germany and Sweden, had produced scientific publications in this field. We heard from Erja's presentation that some new projects obviously are broadening the participation of more Baltic Sea countries. So BONUS, the Joint Baltic Sea Research and Development Program, has taken into account the need for new scientific knowledge and innovations concerning marine litter. So 4 months ago, the BONUS call 2015 Blue Baltic was announced, and also proposals were sought under specific sub-theme concerning development of new methods for improved wastewater treatment efficiency for persistent micro and nanoparticles. And this was under the overarching theme eco-technological approaches to achieve good ecological status in the Baltic Sea. So the outcome of the call will be known in 2016, and we hope that among the successful research and innovation projects that will be funded as a result of an extremely tight competition based on excellence, there would be one dealing with the problem of marine litter. Also, it's noteworthy that in a broader European context, the joint programming initiative Healthy and Productive Seas and Oceans is funding 4 projects of microplastics, 2 of which include studies also in the Baltic Sea. And in the afternoon, later today, we will hear more about these projects. So we find it really important to take the advantage of existing platforms for cross-sectoral communications concerning actions needed to manage the problem. Sally was emphasizing the importance of stakeholders, and you are our stakeholders. Within the coming 2 years, the BONUS program will invite stakeholders, you, to a consultation concerning the strategic research and innovation agenda for the program's second phase, planned to start in 2018 and last 6 years. I really very warmly encourage all of you to respond when this consultation opens and participate in events which we will organize in this context. Thank you.
Push the microphone on again. So, thank you, Kaisa, for your presentation and for this, as I had expected that, probably all of us new aspects add on, so to say. And now, I mean, it's an open secret that the funding is, the basis for all what we need to do, what we can do. And so this is definitely also added value and add on, and however you may call this, contribution from the NEFCO. Where are you interested in stepping in? I'm sure you are. Where can you support us? Where can we assist you to get some of the best you have, and that is money? The floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the very interesting presentations. I think in a couple of years the main discussion has been the climate change, and sometimes I had a feeling that we forget other things when everything is concentrated on the CO2. But therefore, I'm very delighted to be here and to hear the presentations. So I come from NEFCO, Nordic Environment Finance Corporation, and I work there as a senior advisor and dealing with many kind of projects. And as I'm also a chemical engineer, I was very delighted to hear the comments from Mr. Peter Kershaw and also Kaisa Kononen about the hazardous chemicals which can be bound in the microliter. So we are not discussing only about plastics, we are also talking about chemicals, toxic chemicals, flame retardants and things like that. As financial institution, NEFCO focuses on generating tangible, positive environmental impacts in the Nordic region and in particular in Baltic Sea. So that has been our focus from the very beginning, more than 25 years ago, when it was established. So we finance investments in neighboring Central and Eastern European countries. So that's our mandate area, but we have some exceptions. I come later on these. And we have several financing instruments for environmental projects, as providing loans, export credits, and grants. The requirements for geographical location, maturity of the technology may differ depending on the financing instrument. So we have quite many, so I don't go detail on those. And when I was preparing to this seminar, I started to think, so how can we combine our financing instrument and these topics? And I found actually quite many things where we can provide financing and support. Our typical projects, they are related to wastewater treatment plants and reduction of phosphorus, some municipal project, energy efficiency, and we have also landfill project, methane capture. But of course, we can deal with waste management or related to landfills. And we have also, somebody mentioned in the morning session that we should tackle where the waste really comes from. So then we come to the, for example, industry. So if you think about environmental project, it could be that we reduce emissions or capture the wastewater, but we can also impact directly into the process. So minimize the amount of waste to be released. For example, if some company wants to make some modification in their process, saying that okay, if we do that, so we reduce spillage about 70% or 90%. So that can be taken as an environmental project, even though it's traditional technology. Or we can also if some company wants to replace the hazardous or plastic material to some other material and it needs some investments, this can be also financed by us if it is otherwise possible for us. Waste management, recycling of material, plastics, circular economy, that's also very important to us. And modern wastewater handling system. If some company, for example, wants to or has invented a very nice machine to collect waste from rivers or something like that, that could be also something for that investment could be financed by us. Then we have a special fund, Baltic Sea Action Plan Fund. That was set up in 2010 to speed up the Baltic Sea Action Plan implementation. And that's a special fund. I would like to mention that. I'm the fund manager, so I'm very proud of it. And it provides grant financing for project preparation, development, feasibility studies, and also demonstration. If you want to test something, so it helps to create project for further implementation or investment. So it can be used for that kind of purposes. Otherwise, I would very like if you have any questions, so please contact. We have, as I said, we have a very broad look what we look as environmental projects. So please, if you are not sure, please ask and give a call, send an email, take a look on our new website. You'll find a lot of information, www.nefco.org. So And I have some brochures here related to this BSAP fund, so if somebody is interested. We have also one of the donors here, so the BSAP fund money is from Sweden and Finland, and our representative Anders Alm sits here, so in the back. So I think that was all from my point. I have still 26 seconds. Thank you all.
We thank you very much, Anna, also for saving 26 seconds, actually. You can sell them, the climate initiative, you can sell them to whomsoever. Well, thank you, colleagues, thank you, experts, for your presentations, for your input to this conference and to the issue as a whole. I mean, it's of course not only an input to the conference here, but the intention of the conference is to be a kind of multiplier to deliver information which you hopefully may spread at home, at university, in the office, in the ministry, wherever you work, wherever you see an opportunity to gain interest and to gain support and supporters for the interesting but nevertheless challenging and tough work we've got all of us in front of us. As a matter of fact, it's more than obvious in this particular context here that we now have heard so far about the, let's say, either purely European approach, and Matjaz, by the way, when I said Brussels view, I did not mean the Commission's view, but the CIS process. And we also try to distinguish between the national, the regional, and the EU, and that is in brief then the Brussels or the CIS process. So this is of course not only the Commission, but the member states together with the Commission, or the other way around. So this is not to be misunderstood in that context. This was the purely European approach then we have been talking about the European strategy, we have been talking about bonus, which is also a European program, and not at least in NEFCO, the E also stands for European. But we should not forget in that context, actually, and I think those times may be even more important than it has been during the last 20 years at least. We've got a 9th country on board. We have 10 partners, one is the EU, 9 countries, 8 EU member states. But there is one country extra, so to say, and that is the Russian Federation. And I think one thing is crystal clear. If we don't work together, if we don't continue the work together with our Russian partners at eye level in the HELCOM context, at least the Baltic Sea will be lost, if not much more. Therefore, I'm very, very happy that I have the opportunity, and I must say I don't know where to look because I don't know where the lady is sitting, but I've been promised she is in the room. And now I have to see the name. It's Olga Rublevskaya. Hope I spelled that correctly. From St. Petersburg, Vodokanal. I'm looking right hand, I'm looking left hand. Who could guide me somewhat closer to her? No? This is more than misfortunate, but on the other hand, what I at least would like, she is. Oh, so sorry. Hey, welcome, because I just wanted to introduce you. Welcome, the interpreter. Yes, fine. I mean, if you just follow me here, we did not prepare an expert seat now for you because it was an add-on which we wanted to have. And what I learned is that you would be able, /interested, /whatever, requested from us to give us some information concerning the wastewater treatment sector in Russia, in particular from the point of view of Vodokanal and St. Petersburg. Because what we learned in the morning is that wastewater treatment is, of course, also a very sensitive issue. And if we can't cut it at the source, we'll have to find ways to treat it on its way onward to rivers and to the marine environment. So, you have the floor, please.
Спасибо. Я буду говорить по-русски, переводчик мне переведет. Thank you, but I will be speaking in Russian and there will be interpretation.
No problem at all.
Да, Санкт-Петербург действительно является крупнейшим мегаполисом, находящимся в акватории Балтики. И, соответственно, вклад от Петербурга, влияющий на состояние Балтики, он достаточно существенный.
St. Petersburg is the megapolis and a very large city, so the contribution of St. Petersburg is quite great for the marine environment.
И, соответственно, с 1998 года, когда российское правительство приняло Хельсинскую конвенцию, все основные мероприятия, которые реализуются и сейчас реализовывались эти годы в рамках деятельности правительства Петербурга и водоканала Санкт-Петербурга, были направлены на то, чтобы выполнять рекомендации Хельсинской конвенции и снижать негативные воздействия на акваторию Балтики от нашего города.
When the Canal of St. Petersburg has joined HELCOM Convention in the year 1998, all the measures and actions taken by the Canal of St. Petersburg were aimed to reach the better condition of the Baltic environment and to reduce and mitigate the negative impact on the equatorium.
И здесь хочется отметить вообще великолепный опыт, который мы сумели поиметь, вот, общаясь с нашими зарубежными коллегами в решении проблем по снижению негативного воздействия на наши водные объекты, по внедрению технологических решений, которые позволили нам уже на сегодняшний день полностью по качеству очистки сточных вод соответствовать рекомендациям Хельсинской конвенции.
And we need to say that we are very grateful to the expertise which we have got from our international partners, and we introduced lots of technical solutions and methods in order to reach the HELCOM requirements, and now we can say that we are in compliance with them.
Последние годы деятельность водоканала, в принципе, была направлена на такие основные моменты. Прежде всего, это прекращение сброса неочищенных сточных вод в акваторию Балтии.
And one of the important aspects which were of interest of Vodokanal recently was the closure of direct discharges of wastewater.
До 1997 года все сточные воды от Санкт-Петербурга, это более 3 миллионов кубометров в сутки, сбрасывались в реку Нева, соответственно, далее Финский залив и в акватории Балтики без очистки.
And until the year 1997, there was the amount of wastewater, about more than 3 million cubic meters per day, which were discharged directly into the Baltic Sea, into the Neva River, and then to the Baltic Sea without any treatment.
Сегодня проходит очистку 98,5% стоков, образующихся в городе. Я считаю, что этот результат, конечно, очень показателен, предполагая, что, в принципе, все это было произведено за последние какие-то там десятки лет, да, незначительные.
And now we had the results of 98.5% of wastewater being treated, and we are considered to be these results to be a great result, taking into account that it was reached during maybe 10 years and a little bit more.
Ключевым мероприятием, которое вот позволило достичь этой отметки, это было завершение строительства главного канализационного коллектора северной части нашего города. Это был проект века практически. С 2008 по 2013 год было переключено более 70 прямых выпусков общим объемом 330 тысяч кубометров в сутки на коллектор и, соответственно, на очистку.
And one of the clue activities during these recent events, among these recent events, was the construction of the Northern Tunnel Collector, which was the international project and the large-scale project. It was implemented for the period starting from 2008 and up to 2013. And with the help of this project, the Canal of St. Petersburg was able to close 70 direct discharges and treat 330,000 cubic meters per day more.
Вторым основным направлением было это совершенствование качества очистки. опять-таки в содружестве с нашими скандинавскими коллегами, на сегодняшний день на всех сооружениях города внедряются технологические решения, позволяющие достичь глубокого удаления биогенных элементов азота и фосфора. На сегодняшний день по результатам 2015 года общий азот в общем стоке города составляет 9,9 мг на литр, общий фосфор менее 0,5 мг на литр.
And the second aspect is the improvement of wastewater treatment quality, and our results was reached also together with other Scandinavian colleagues. And we need to say that now we have the enhanced nutrient removal for nitrogen and phosphorus, and for the year 2015 we have the result that nitrogen we have 9.9 milligrams per liter and phosphorus less than 0.5 milligram per liter.
И многие проекты, реализованные у нас в городе, они были реализованы совместно с нашими скандинавскими коллегами, с NEFCO мы много очень работаем, поэтому было приятно сегодня здесь опять с ними встретиться. Сейчас у нас идет совместная реконструкция северной станции РАЦ, это крупнейшее сооружение в нашем городе по очистке сточных вод производительностью более 1 миллиона кубометров в сутки.
And we need also to say that most of the projects were implemented with our northern colleagues, Scandinavian colleagues, and one of them was NEFCO organization, and we are very pleased to see our friends today here, and we are very grateful. And we need to say that there was one more large project. It was the reconstruction of the northern wastewater treatment plant, which is the largest in the city, and dealing with more than 1 million cubic meters of wastewater per day.
И теперь время диктует уже как бы новые требования. Мы понимаем теперь, как бы бороться с биогенными элементами. Теперь новые опасные вещества, которые определены HELCOM, микропластик. И поэтому сегодняшняя тема нам тоже была очень интересно актуальна. Совместно с HELCOM мы проводили испытания на нашей центральной станции РАЦИ. Задержание микропластика на наших сооружениях 96%. Этот эффект еще недостаточен. И в инвестиционной программе нашего города значится реализация внедрения сооружений по доочистке, которые позволят уже повысить эффект задержания микропластика.
But now we have new requirements which are more stricter, and one of them is the reduction of microplastic, which was discussed today. And we need to say that together with HELCOM, there was some research made in order to investigate how much microplastic is treated in our wastewater treatment plant. And our result is about 96%, but this is not enough. And our investment program, the city investment program, includes now more actions and more financing in order to implement tertiary treatment and to have the 100% result.
Thank you so much. May I just hand this over? Thank you so much for giving us this information. In particular, I mean, first of all, it was a very impressive piece of information as regards the, let's say, simple wastewater treatment, simple, inverted commas. Lastly, of course, I think not only myself, but we are all very grateful to hear that you have also plastics on your list, actually microplastics, because that's what we are talking about there. And, well, I think the HELCOM regional action plan, actually, HELCOM comprising Russian Federation and the EU member states and the Commission, or the other way around, is really justified. Russian Federation also joins us in fighting marine litter, and in particular, it is more than challenging particular aspect of fighting microplastics by installing adequate wastewater treatment. So great to hear. Thanks for this addition and making the HELCOM family complete once more. We are all on the same track. Thank you. Well, colleagues, I think there is not too much sense in wrapping up this session now and going through again more or less one by one or word by word, sentence by sentence, what colleagues have contributed so far. But nevertheless, I would like to take the opportunity just to get through and to have, let's say, 2 or 3 minutes, a rough listing, so to say, bullet points of keywords, of pieces of information which we have received and which, at least from my point of view, definitely illustrate the wide range of problems, of particular problems, of smaller and larger ones, but also of tools, of instruments which we already have in our hands and where we from time to time may say, well, there is some implementation missing, or we need some more push in this or that direction, but nevertheless, a lot of instruments, a lot of tools are already available. Coming back to the European Baltic Sea strategy, we heard about two particular projects, Baltic and Marilit. We heard about the present work going on in the framework of the hazardous substances, which is an old group, so to say, having taken the marine litter issue on board. And we not at least heard about a plan for maritime protection has been set up by the Finnish government. So from the national and from the Baltic Sea point of view, a concrete contribution by the EU strategy. When it comes to the European Commission, we heard some, not only some, but a handful of existing instruments, again, which need implementation, and with regard to what we are doing today here and what HELCOM as such is doing, which also needs, of course, I mean, the European, strategy, directives approach, be it water or marine, doesn't matter. It needs the regional support, it needs the regional basis, because we have more or less tailor-made problems and we need tailor-made solutions. And that is actually the link we need between what we are doing on the regional level and what we are legally urged to do on the European level. That needs to go hand in hand. We can't afford parallel processes here. Joint effort is probably the word of the day in that context. When it comes to the BSAC, we heard some very interesting information, in particular focusing on the fishermen's issue, so to say, in terms of ghost nets, lost fishing gear. And Sally, don't misunderstand me. I don't want to reduce what you said to just one sentence, but I found it so impressive that I think it says more than repeating 5 or 6 of them. Fishermen should not be punished for losing their nets, but either port reception facilities should be prepared for them to deliver at no cost, or, well, support in one way or the other, at least to get into contact with them and to ask for their contribution as well, but try to develop at least a kind of understanding for what they are doing. When it comes to the scientific approach, to the bonus approach, I think relevant vocabulary was, of course, all that what we heard in the morning already. What do we need as additional scientific background? What about the amounts? What about the pathways? What about the sources? All that stuff. Then something also I mentioned in that context, cost effectiveness is a very, very important issue, of course. Monitoring and assessment, of course, without that, I think we are lost. And not last but not least, of course, the cross-sectoral solutions. That means the integrated approach once more, not only when causing the problem, but also working together when trying to fight it successfully. And with regard to the funding issue, so to say, to the NEFCO approach so far, we heard that there is also a larger toolbox which has different headings like industrial solutions on the one hand, the core piece probably of all what we are doing, the waste management issue, which needs to be tackled in one way or the other, and with a very clear relation and link to the HELCOM work already and the existing instruments in this context here, the HELCOM BSAP, and that is the BSAP fund. And since the BSAP can contribute to fighting marine litter, the fund will also, and so on, and in the end, NEFCO is on board already in that context as well. Fine. I think that should be, at least as far as I've been told here, the input from our side here. The question is, any news from Twitter, any news from the outside world? No, none. So, maximum 2 questions. I just received a signal, yes, time is running, I know, but maximum 2. Is there any question from anybody to this? No, these are the assistants probably. Oh, so sorry. I just wanted to give you the floor. So, no. I mean, we don't insist on. If there is none, Erja, please. Do you have a question? No.
Well, I don't have a question, but we have not been discussing so much about the citizens and consumers here. And I think we play a very decisive role in solving this problem as well. I read there in the leaflet that 48% of the marine litter in the Baltic Sea comes from household-related waste and so on. I just want to market an event because in 2014 we had a special theme year, Gulf of Finland year, between Finland, Russia and Estonia. And during that year we had a lot of awareness raising, environment education campaigns in all these countries, and we also had beach cleaning campaigns. And this is becoming a tradition by the organization Baltic Sea Challenge this year. At the same time, on the 23rd of April, the beaches of Gulf of Finland will be cleaned in Helsinki, in St. Petersburg, and in Tallinn. And we of course hope that many more cities and municipalities and people would join us on the 23rd of April.
Thank you, Erja. And maybe HELCOM inviting for what working group so ever for the 23rd of April to Helsinki. Maybe that will help. Fine. Just a last look here. Well, what could perhaps be, and it might fit into this context, which we have been preparing and discussing during the last hour now probably, that it is not only, of course, on the regional and on the EU level that things are going on. There is also one level above, so to say, or there are different layers. One is, which is already involved in the work, that is the UN level. I think we shouldn't discuss that in depth because everybody who has taken up this issue of marine litter might be familiar with the keywords there, Honolulu strategy, UNEA resolution, all that. But something that comes maybe a little bit closer to the regional level again is the activity which the G7 leaders have decided or have practiced last year, actually, under the German presidency. And I want to be very brief because I'm now having two hats, so to say, a German one and the chairperson, or the a moderator's hat. And this is more or less just for information because Matjaz already mentioned that also. Well, indeed, the G7 leaders have decided on a G7 action plan to combat or to fight marine litter, actually. And they have not only done this, but this plan has been developed. We have developed measures, some concrete measures already, 5 of them by the end of the year, together with our G7 partners. And the intention is that we spread it somewhat regional, that we widen the regional application of this plan. I don't mention any numbers now, what someone could think about in that context, but the intention behind is that we also make use of existing networks like the UNEP Regional Seas Program, where HELCOM is, of course, partner, and where we have a strong partnership between HELCOM and the Nairobi Convention, as I know. So that could be a first step into, let's say, regional widening, but not forgetting about where we come from. The regional action plans being the basis for what we are doing, but having a policy push and making use of the leaders already also call it, political momentum. I think that is something which we all should bear in mind, that we of course need activity on the national level to implement. We need the regional cooperation, but we also need the policy push, and that comes from top. So if we are, well, lucky, and if we are intelligent enough, we link all those strings together and will in the end have a complete package of, well, producers, or let's say of relevant sources and of those who are going to fight. Let's see. This was just a piece of information just on top, so to say, and I think now I should give you free, so to say, for coffee break. You should please, and allow me to remind you a second time, have a look at the exhibition. It's really worth to go through, to have a look at, and to learn something from things presented there. Thanks so far, and I expect you back at 3:15. Thank you.